DLSU Radio, Green Giants FM. You're tuning into another episode of the What's Up Bro podcast. I'm DJ Miggy.
And I am DJ Cora.
And before we cut off our last episode, we were teasing you guys on how we were going to dive deeper into the work-life balance of the De La Salle brothers. So we have some very special guests today who will kind of break it all down for us. So, dear brothers, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Good day to everyone. I'm Brother Kenneth Martinez, and I'm based in University of St. La Salle, Bacolod.
And I'm Brother Alex Diaz, FSC. I'm also based in La Salle, Bacolod as its principal.
All right. Thank you so much, brothers, for coming with us this morning and taking the time to, help enlighten our students with the work-faith or work-life balance of the De La Salle brothers. So with that being said, let's dive right into the first question. So from what I understand, being a brother is not a quote-unquote job, but a way of life and a ministry. So that said, is there such a thing as separating your personal life from your life as a brother? If there is, how is this done in your context?
I think for the beginning of my own journey as a brother, the work-life balance was difficult because normally the young brothers are the workhorses of the school. There's so much work that they give you, a full teaching load, campus ministry. In smaller schools, you have 2 or 3 jobs at the same time. However, I'm very sure that the personal agenda and personal life is an important, even during those most difficult days, because they're also a good sense of support. So when there's less work, you seek more time for yourself. So there are phases in a young brother's life where that's difficult. But as I get older, I begin to see that there is importance in having a real different set of friends or a connection with older students that are now alumni that you continue to connect with, and other friends outside of the school circle. This is a good way in which you get a better perspective of how life is lived, and you have a sense of distance from the school that can get very demanding in many times throughout the year.
I think to me, it's difficult to really separate my personal life and my life as a brother. Because whether with the habit or not, whether it's a weekday or a weekend, my being a brother is something I live for life. Just the same, even if I try to live my life in a personal way, outside work, outside the ministry, I still am a brother. People still recognize me as a brother. And with that, there are certain responsibilities that I have to pay close attention to because I am a brother, whether with the habit or not.
All right. Thank you so much, brothers. I guess like any path anyone can take, it really takes, it's a matter of getting used to dividing that work life and, the personal life that you have for yourself. So, Cora, I think we can move to the next question.
Yes. So you did mention that you have both your days spent as active brothers in the mission, but you also have time for yourselves, for your friends. So how do you balance that, your work as a brother, and still maintain a social life and time for your family, for your friends?
I think it's very important for us to understand that you have to schedule time for yourself and with your friends. It's like a regular work schedule. Some people fill their calendar with a lot of work. I also fill my calendar with not only work, but also some obligations, some personal and social obligations. There's some phases wherein you think that it's just about school, but there's also a chunk of time I give to myself and make sure that the weekends doesn't look like it's going to be work as well. Then you blur it. There's some days that the weekend flows, the work flows into the weekend. And after a while, you don't like that to happen anymore. You want your weekends really for yourself. And I'm very fortunate that you have another property here, the Granada property, which is an eco park, a farm, and Bahay Pag-asa. And it's a very conducive environment just to be silencing and quieting yourself amidst nature. So I look towards that time also, not only just having social life, but having quiet time by myself.
If there's one thing I learned as a brother through the years was that it's important to set boundaries between work and in my personal life. For example, specifically, what I do at the end of the day, I actually don't bring my laptop back in the community because it gives me the temptation to reply to emails in the evening, the privacy of my own bedroom, of which I make sure that I avoid or I don't do. At the end of the day, it's really just for myself, my community, doing things other than work. While on a weekend, I don't work at all. I don't send emails. I don't reply to emails unless it's really an emergency. I do other things other than work, like my hobbies, like catching up on my Netflix shows and things like that.
Okay, so I definitely relate to both of the sentiments shared here because honestly, during this pandemic, I've come to realize that your to-do list is not your wish list. So it really is about saying yes to certain things and also knowing what to say no to. And actually, in relation to what you said, I also have a follow-up question, if I may. Are the brothers given the leeway to experience other forms of recreation other than your community organized gatherings, such as maybe having a nightlife or other activities as well?
Brother Alex will answer that first.
Why me, brother? We're given because we're given some leeway and freedom to really and we're encouraged, in fact, to build on our hobbies and do other things that other than work, right? So, for example, here in the community, 4 of us brothers here have pets. So it's like at the end of the day, we all talk about pets. We show off our pets and things like that. In the weekend, I do yoga. I go out with friends because I'm back here in Bacolod, of where I was born and where I studied and finished my degree. So I'm pretty accessible to my friends, and I ensure that at least some weekends I get to see them or my family as well. So there's we're given leeway to build on our hobbies and do other things because again, work-life balance is important, not just for any professional but for every person, and the brothers also see value in that. Did I answer that right, Brother Kenneth? Brother Kenneth has a rabbit.
I'm trying to figure out what you were saying. What's so quiet? When you talk about nightlife, it's kind of different connotation. Sometimes you might mistake that nightlife is an active life. But nightlife, to me, is really turning towards quieting myself after a busy day. So what I normally do is I do some light exercise in the morning or walk for about 30 minutes. But as part of my winding down, I swim for 30 minutes. So I have if the day is okay, I have a full hour of exercise. And that's part of how I prepare for the night. Then second is basically I always have a funny motivation. I said, happy hour, brothers, happy hour. So
there's at 6 p.m.
And sometimes it's not only on weekends, it's also on weekdays, So I try to have a bottle of beer, and then I wind down, have some pika before dinner. And actually I wind down with rosary because I am part of a rosary group that kind of support each other by praying the rosary. My batch, about 4 or 6 of us, prayed the rosary. And it's been a year and a half since the pandemic. So I'm sorry about that, but It's about a year after the pandemic. So it's something that supports me because as a university administrator, the problem has been the stress has been doubled. Doubled in a sense that we continue education mission, but the methodology is now quite distant. It's no longer face-to-face. So we have to work around that. And that is very stressful, not only for students, but for staff, teachers, and administrators like. So you have to make a real commitment even more for strengthening your own spiritual, personal life. And that is my night out. Is that correct, Brother Alex?
I think I can relate, brother, because maybe when I was much younger, nightlife had a certain connotation and was something that a young person would sometimes, desire or look forward to on a weekend or on Friday night or even Thursday years back. But now, because it's pandemic and because I feel like I've somehow matured in life, it does not appeal to me that much anymore. And like Brother Kenneth, to me, nightlife is just, being quiet, having a beer or two, mixing my own cocktail drinks with Brother Kenneth and during our happy hour, and just lounging in the community or even have dinner outside. I think that is nightlife for us now. I can't say much for the younger brothers who are much younger than me, but I think your idea, one's idea of a nightlife changes as the brother matures in his vocation.
Yeah, I really like the sound of that. Just knowing that the night doesn't have to be noisy for you to enjoy it. So that's really beautiful. Thank you so much, brothers, for sharing. And actually, we have a next question. Miggy?
All right. Thank you, Cora. So we've been discussing the lifestyle of the brothers for the last few questions now. However, there are some students who are probably curious about this. Does the lifestyle of brothers now differ from the lives of brothers from 100 years back?
Brother Kenneth can answer that very well.
You know what? I'm turning already 60 next year. I'm already a dual citizen. So that's why Brother Alex differs to me. However, I wasn't a brother 100 years ago. The context definitely has changed because communication and lifestyles and the environment has changed a lot. And that is a big difference. It's the method, the ease of travel, the ease of the lifestyle of people. They completely changed. It's easier now to connect. It's easier now to network. It's easier now to have a more convenient life. So it has changed. So if I were to enter 100 years ago, I don't think I would have the same ease of traveling, communicating, and connecting to people. And second, I think the church has also changed. If it's really listening on the ground to what's happening, the policies and reflections of the church will also change with the time. For the brothers, I think I've been a brother since 1986. So it's quite a long time ago when Alex was still an aspirant. So in 1986, the brothers also were only from the Philippines. We were only assigned in the Philippines. If we studied in the States. But now the brothers are all over Asia and some are studying abroad. But the region is now being populated by Filipino brothers in Southeast Asia. That has changed. So we've just not confined ourselves to being a Philippine district, but now are part of Lasallian East Asian district. To me, I think it's the lifestyle is more relaxed, more comfortable, less structured, and more towards giving you the responsibility to live your vocation and to live in community in a more fluid manner, less strict. So I would think that is how I would think would be the main difference.
And I agree with Brother Kenneth because through the years, the church has accommodated and has adjusted to the signs of the times. Do know that um, De La Salle, during his time, his ideas were considered revolutionary and innovative, meaning his ideas of innovating in the classroom were something unheard of and was considered out of this world even. And that was something that attracted me in the brothers because I knew when I joined the brothers that this is a congregation that is very sensitive of the signs of the times and will continue to adjust as the years progress. The brothers, I don't see the brothers to be very, very traditional and by the book, but correct with what Brother Kenneth said. We're in formation, we're taught to live responsibly as a religious rather than being prescribed on how to live and what to do. So it's about having personal responsibility of our formation that is central in our formative years as a brother. And I think that is something that we carry on with us and we carry with us as we go through our life as a religious today.
All right. Thank you so much, brothers. Actually, it is very enlightening to see how things definitely changed for the lives of the De La Salle brothers throughout the decades and for even the past hundreds of years. However, we do have a follow-up question to this. Although you said there are a lot of changes that have happened since then, what are the important things that have endured from back then up until today? So like ways of life of the De La Salle brothers or in terms of the mission that you guys have?
I think what has changed is the foundation of vocation. Any vocation for that matter is a life of faith. No? A commitment to this vocation, to any Christian vocation, comes out of a deep belief that God loves us. And at some point, that love is shared to others in a mission. So I think that's very important. The foundation of our vocation has not changed. It's basically expressed also through education. That service is the output of a life of faith. So, in terms of personal lifestyle, that has changed. About the vocation as it lives, that has changed. But the way we start the day or start our own inspiration is basically a life of faith, a life of trust and confidence in God.
Mm-hmm.
And that hasn't changed.
And inspired by that faith, the brothers put premium on community life. In through the years, that hasn't changed because community life is central to our vocation, and we do things in communion amongst ourselves in our respective communities. At the same time, we are sharing the mission with our partners, with our associates, with our stakeholders in the school, because the mission is something that is shared as a community of Lasallians. So I think that hasn't changed through the years, but rather it has given more emphasis in we put more premium to it because we are a congregation of brothers who live in a community as opposed to brothers living alone or by ourselves. So community life is central, and I think that's also what attracted me to the brothers. Though it is not easy to live in community, it's challenging. I mean, by challenging, I mean if you have troubles in your own home with your family, how much more with brothers you hardly know or you didn't grow up with. But grace, the grace of God is there. Your maturity as a religious is there. Your ideas of how to live and make compromises and contribute to making your community healthier are there. So I think these are elements that make up a good community that we continue to live by, and that's why it's a happy community here in Bacolod.
Thank you, brothers. I think the aspect of living in a community as the LaSalle brothers was something that was actually brought up in the so like the previous brothers said, there are the struggles and challenges in that aspect of their lives. I think Cora, we can move to the next question now.
Yes, so you did mention that you have your brother duties or your duties as brothers, but what else do you guys do outside of that?
Outside of that, first of all, I don't want to dichotomize what I live as a brother and what I live in
Yes.
as a brother and outside. As mentioned by Alex, it's difficult to remove my identity. I travel, and then sometimes I travel by myself.
Mhm.
So even though nobody notices me and recognizes me as a brother, I carry that identity. But one of the things that's very, very essential for me is that I like a lot of time by myself. Sometimes I'll be in a house by myself for 2 or 3 days. I just be quiet, just time to rest, just time to pray, just time to start my usual email. It just gives me a lot of energy to be by myself. And second, I like to also be in the beach, and I think the brothers also like that. We are many of us are beach brothers, and we understand, and we're also foodies because Bacolod is known for great reasonable food.
Mhm.
We always also eat out, so there's a lot of agenda revolving around food, and especially this Christmas, people are giving us food. So to me, it's been a very varied and rich life. And then I also regularly connect to my own family. Some people think that when you leave the brothers, you leave totally the family. But it may be true when you're a young brother because of your busyness. But as you get older, you reconnect with family, and you find a new role in the family. So that makes sense to us as we grow older as a family. Then you become a sort of a support role to the family, a spiritual role to the family. So it becomes integral that you also, now that you have a little bit more time, you try to be there for the family, and not really like before when you were younger. You used to forget about that, but now there's a real need to connect to others and to family as well.
Pre-pandemic, during weekends, I enjoy eating alone. I enjoy being alone, in fact. I go out, discover a new place, try the food, criticize it, post it in Instagram, and say whether it's delicious or not. Or I watch movies by myself, and I enjoy watching movies in the cinema alone. I think my weekends are my me weekends. That was pre-pandemic. When the pandemic came, when borders were freer, I go to the beach with friends, drive around maybe to Tagaytay and back. For no reason, but just to get some air and go back to community. Here in Bacolod, yes, Brother Kenneth mentioned that we do love to eat because food is very good in Bacolod. So we try to discover new places, either as a community or by ourselves. I mentioned I do yoga every Saturday. That's with a group of friends in high school and college. And we go to the beach. We're beach brothers here. And a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we were in the beach twice in a week. So hence our dark complexion. So there you go.
Well, it sounds like this conversation that we're having right now is helping to debunk a lot of misconceptions or even stereotypes of what it's like to live a religious vocation, because I know that some people have the idea that once you're in a religious vocation, you don't get to do certain things like you used to before, or that you don't get to spend as much time with the people you grew up loving and the people that you make connections with. So with that said, what in the life actually of a brother did you initially think was true but turned out to be different when you became one?
Oh.
Difficult question.
Loaded.
Brother Alex, you gotta go ahead. I give them.
Can I say there was none? Because when I was in high school and college, when I was an aspirant, the brother who mentored me pretty much exposed me to the other things a brother can do. I did live with the brothers in their community when I was in college regularly. That's 1 week every month. That was when Brother Kenneth was also here then. Yet this brother who mentored me and who is now my godfather in the religious life introduced me to other things that the brother can do, while could be shocking for some, but made me realize that brothers are human beings too. That while they live in community, they have friends outside. While they pray through structured prayers, through a schedule, following a schedule, outside schedule, they're pretty much on their own, but they're very responsible with how they conduct themselves in public, because whether personal or as a religious, to dichotomize that is tricky and it's difficult to do. But I've seen that the brothers are human beings. In aside from community, what attracted me to the brothers is that they're very human. And if they weren't as human as I perceive them to be, I wouldn't be with them right now. So, thanks to Brother Kenneth, he was there. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Brother Alex. You know what? You have to figure this as part of a journey. Partly because from the very beginning, I felt I was very much of an introvert. Nobody believes that, because I've always been out there saying so many things. But for an introvert to be playing the role of an extrovert is extremely tiring. So as you move in, the introversion becomes a second nature, and you don't figure out that you have to compromise your personality. So we have young brothers who have played their introversion a lot, despite a very public figure. However, there is some expectation that has changed over the years, partly because as an introvert, parang your voice is not as strong and as confident. But as you grow older, because you stay longer, much longer than Brother Alex, I've stayed a little bit longer, your voice becomes stronger because you feel that you're one. You're one good voice, and the voice of the superior is another good voice. You don't feel a sense of you're being diminished because you're not the religious superior or you're not the director, but you feel confident that you have now a voice. Whereas when you were younger, because you were introvert, your voice was sort of muffled by your indecision and insecurity. So in a sense, it's not the brothers that change, it's you that changing. So it makes sense that the brothers are moving, but you're also moving. So it's kind of difficult to say what were your expectations and what changed, because you're both moving.
That's true.
You're not. It's like your family's role today, 10 years moving forward, or 10 years before. It was you're on different ground together. So how can you say that things have changed and while they are also changing? So it's quite a very fluid and dynamic environment, and I think we're just probably calibrating our responses every time based on what the environment is on.
Thank you so much, brothers. That was
I don't know
really...
if that makes sense. Well,
yes, definitely some food for thought, brother.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that brings us to the end of this podcast, doesn't it, Miggy?
Yeah, it really does. Actually, thank you so much, brothers, once again for taking the time to be with us and help us get into the lives of the De La Salle brothers and how you balance, that work life or that life as a brother and, the time you allot for yourselves. So if you want to get to learn more about our De La Salle brothers, you can check them out on their Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify, which is De La Salle Brothers of the Philippines.
And if you want to see more of them, you can also check out their Instagram and Twitter, which is at DLS Brothers PH. And of course, if you have any questions or maybe you'd like to discern with the brothers yourself, you can reach out to them on their email, which is vocations@delasalle.ph. You can also check us out on our Green Giant FM social media, which is our Facebook and Twitter, Green Giant FM.
You can also check us out on our Instagram, which is at greengiant.fm.
We also have our YouTube, which is bit.ly/uppercase ggfm-yt.
And of course, if you want to check out our other podcasts and our playlists, you can head over to our Spotify, which is Green Giants FM. So with that being said, this has been What's Up, Bro? This has been DJ Miggy.
And this has been DJ Cora.
And we are also accompanied by our brothers, Brother Alex and Brother Kenneth. Thank you so much, brothers, for being with us once again today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Animo Lasal.